fire emergency, medical emergency, you name it. But many Ghanaians don't know their emergency numbers. Well, here's one you'd want to remember, and that's *770#. Yes, *770# is the new EcoBank money emergency number. *770# gives you instant access to loans, fund transfer, utility payments, airtime and data purchases, and so much more, even without data. So there's no need to panic when you find yourself in any money emergency. EcoBank will always come to your rescue. Dial *770# now for solutions to your money emergencies. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. So today on Business Focus, we are putting the spotlight on President John Dramani Mahama's 120 days social contract with Ghanaians, and we are putting the spotlight on the economic side of the promises. Joining us today on Business Focus to discuss this is economist Dr. Edu Owusu-Sarkodie. We also have Joseph Paddy, the Director of Communications for the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, GUTA. Would have a rep also from the Association of Ghana Industries, Chonam Akpelo, who is the Greater Accra Regional Chairman. Now, on January 7, President John Mahama presented a 120-day social contract to the people of Ghana, particularly the business community. This contract outlined specific actions to be taken within the first 4 months in office. A major focus is addressing Ghana's economic challenges through initiatives such as National Economic Dialogue and the development of a fiscal consolidation program. Scrapping certain taxes like the e-levy was a key promise to alleviate economic hardship. President John Mahama pledged to form a lean and efficient government. Establishing a code of conduct for government officials is also a priority, which was done today. Job creation programs and support for sectors like agriculture and industry are central to his agenda. We'll be walking you through some of the promises that he made to Ghanaians ahead of the 2024 elections and walking you through some of the promises that he made. So, on the screen right now, you see top of the list was to hold an economic dialogue and develop a homegrown fiscal plan. That we covered extensively for you here on Business Focus and on TV3. It was done. The feedback has been positive since, so we'll take that as a yes. That has been done. Scrapping of harsh taxes, including e-levy, COVID levy, betting tax, and emissions levy. We know all of these taxes have been scrapped apart from the COVID levy, but let's say majority of them have been handled, so we'll take it out. Review import taxes on industrial and agricultural equipment. That hasn't been done yet, so we'll wait to see how that pans out. Prepare a legal groundwork for the 24-hour economy. I believe that is also still underway, but we know that some work has been done, a secretariat has been put together, someone has been appointed from the presidency to spearhead that affair. There's the set up the Accelerated Export Development Council to boost export. That also, we know some work has been done on that, especially including the Ghana Export Promotion Authority. Launch of forensic audits into key corruption scandals that we cannot confirm at the moment. Allocate seed funding for the establishment of the Women's Development Bank. That was done in the 2025 budget. We know some 51 million cedis was allocated for the establishment of the Women's Bank. However, there have been some concerns about the amount. Some, like the director of ISE, Professor Peter Quartey, have argued that 51 million Ghana cedis is barely enough to even make up for the capital requirement to establish a bank. So if the funds are not adequate enough to set up a bank, why not operate it through by setting up, for instance, a women's desk in various banks and allocate some of this funding to the various banks so that they can implement the policy while you try to raise the money to establish an actual bank. There's also the Create Jobs through the Jumara Apprenticeship and 1 Million Coders program. We know that was launched a few weeks ago. Scrap the ban on salvage vehicle imports to support local artisans. I believe that was also addressed recently. And then the issue of tackling illegal mining and launch of environmental recovery initiatives, that is still underway. From what we've seen so far with the issues with regards to illegal mining, there's still a lot of work that the government has to do with that. Introduce the Black Star experience to boost tourism. That was done just about last week by the presidency. Restructure loss-making state-owned enterprises. I believe that is still underway, but at least we know that there was a forum held about a month or so ago where all the state-owned enterprises were brought together and some effort is being made to help turn the fortunes of these institutions. The World Bank commended the government for the efforts with regards to this policy. So based on the economic side of the policies that President John Mahama planned to implement in the first 120 days. We see 75% of them have been completed, but there's still some that needs to be tackled. Now, away from that also, we'll look at the current economic indicators in the country since John Mahama took office from January 7. As at the time he took office, the dollar was about 14 cedi 75 pesos. It did some marginal depreciation right after that and went up a little over 15. At some point, it was at 1550, 1580 in the year. However, as we speak today, based on the interbank rate, it's currently at 13 cedis 90 pesos. Some quarters are posting lower figures than this online. However, this is what it looks like as we speak at the moment. The pound hasn't moved much. From 1821, it's currently at 1848, 18.48 Ghana cedis. The euro also, actually, the cedi hasn't done too well with the euro as well. Also lost some ground at 15.75. And these are how the government has handled these macro indicators since it took office. With the issue of fuel prices, we started the year as at 25th January, the price of fuel was 14 cedis 99 pesos. As we speak today, it's at 13 cedis 69 pesos, that if you buy from Gold. Other companies like Star Oil and the likes are selling at about 12 cedis 99 and even as low as 12 cedis 79 pesos, depending on where you buy it. And that's what the figures look like right now. As you can see also with diesel, 15 cedis 60, 14, 41, based on the prices from some of the market leaders. However, you can get this cheaper elsewhere. The monetary policy rate, we've seen some marginal increase, about 100 basis points increase in the policy rate from 27% to 28%. This is all part of efforts to help check inflation. And the governor of the Bank of Ghana recently announced that they were revising the inflation target for this year downwards, even further, I think to about 13%. And then also inflation has dipped marginally. We've moved from 23.5% to 22.4%. Is this enough? Is there room for improvement? We have industry folks here to walk us through what they make of the performance of this government so far over the last 4 months. And well, my guests are seated now in studio to basically share their thoughts on how this government has performed over the last 120 days. The 120 days, we believe, will elapse probably in the next 2 days. But before we go into it, every day people face different emergencies, police emergencies, fire emergencies, medical emergencies, you name it. But many Ghanaians don't know their emergency numbers. Well, here is one you would want to remember, and that's star 770 hash. Yes, star 770 hash is the new EcoBank money emergency number. Star 770 hash gives you instant access to loans, fund transfers, utility payments, airtime and data purchases, and so much more, even without data. So there's no need to panic when you find yourself in any money emergency, because EcoBank will always come to your rescue. Dial star 770 hash now for solutions to your money emergencies. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. Well, my guests are seated in studio now, and thank you, gentlemen, for making time to be here. We have Chona Makpelo, Greater Accra Chairman of the Association of Ghana Industries. Thank you for coming. And Joseph Paddy, who is almost like a regular guest now here on Business Focus. Thank you all for joining us. We also have via Zoom economist Dr. Edu Owusu-Sarkodie. Doc, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you too for having me, and good evening to my friends in the studio.
Good evening, Doc.
Okay, so I'll start off with you. Initial rounds. What is your initial comments on how this government has fared in the first 120 days from AGI perspective?
Well, thank you, and good evening to your cherished listeners. I'll begin by saying that, to be fair, it's early days yet. Industrial development takes time. I mean, you really have to wait to see things happen in the short term, like a year, but typically, 5 years going. So it's normally not fair to assess a government within 3 months. However, it's important to indicate that it appears that the government has a lot of goodwill from industrial stakeholders, but also very significantly, they are able to keep some of their promises, which have been very useful for us. For example, like the e-levy that has been taken off, the issue of engaging local industry, for example, the introduction of the free sanitary pads, and the fact that they intend to engage local industry to produce this, it means that there will be a lot of opportunities for our people so they can produce and supply the Ghanaian market. And also some of the taxes that have been taken off. I mean, these are things we've advocated. You've followed our advocacy plan for some time. And so there's clear sign of goodwill and commitment. I mean, the appearance of commitment on the side of government to support local industry. I mean, the other things about reducing government expenditure, I mean, keeping to the promise of having like 60 ministers or so, that's obviously a great thing, because the more money that's being saved, the better for industry. And so my initial comments will be that it's a good start. We really look forward to seeing government continue to pursue some of these policies for the betterment of industry.
You sound quite optimistic.
Yes, I have to be optimistic, because so if you take currency, for example, the dollar, you know how we've complained a lot about the exchange rate situation, but it's been fairly stable.
Especially post-elections.
Yes, the issue really is the long term of things, right? But we're saying that it's only fair to acknowledge that it's been stable. And our hope is that they take every measure to ensure that this stability continues. Because for us, we're interested in the longevity of the stability. Okay, so that if I know that the exchange rate will be 13 to a dollar, 13 cedi to a dollar in a year's time, that stability helps us to plan. You know, we typically will plan, I mean, quarterly, half yearly, and annually. These components are crucial for our planning process. So we are interested in knowing how long these things are sustained. So our prayer and hope is that they continue to sustain it. And while I've heard the issue around the gold board and the idea to use gold to back our forests and so on, we believe that all these measures will help in a long way to ensuring that we have a more stabilized economy for industrial gold. So early days yet, but we believe that it's a good day.
Okay.
To keep up.
Maybe Guta would agree with you. Guta, are you happy?
Oh, obviously, we do. You know, in every development and every planning, we have the short term, medium term, and the long term.
Okay.
So in the short term, what we're seeing, it gives some hope. Yeah, looking at some of the taxes that we'll be complaining about that has been scrapped. You know, making cost of doing business extremely high in the country, that we are losing business to our neighboring countries and other countries in the world. So bringing down this tax component, which we think is going to help industry, is going to help business community, coupled with that, with the coming of the exchange rate, where we see a little stability for the past 3 to 4 months. Today I went to one of the commercial banks, and it's 13 to 4 and also 14, so which is a welcome news. So we think it's a good news that's going to help the economy, it's going to help the country. So what we see now, and what we've also seen is that it looks like there's so much stakeholder participatory in the economy. So everybody is involved. You know, they promise 24-hour economy, where they've set up their board, where business community are in there and putting the strategies together. I believe one of the things where our challenge, why we were excited about this 24-hour economy, is that where 5 o'clock, the economy of Ghana go to bed, go to sleep. You know, once upon a time, I was talking to a friend, and he tells me that on Sunday, he makes more sales than any other days in Abusokan, where the spare parts enclave is.
Wow.
I say, why? Yeah, because the weekday, look at the number of traffic. People find it difficult to patronize those areas. By the weekend, where there's no traffic, he goes after church, he goes to open his shops, and people patronize his schools.
Wow.
So if we are to put all this in place, and put the structures in place, put the security measures in place, you know, at a point in time, you walk in town, it's too dark in the system. So if we can put all these structures in place, and then we can have the lighting system, we can have our security alert, and people can trade in the night, why not? Because I believe that if we're able to go ahead with this 24-hour economy, it's going to boost our economy a lot. Because where we go to bed after 5, now you go to all the ministries at 5, everybody's gone home, nothing is operating. How can you grow economy under this dispensation? So it's a welcome news to the business committee, which we welcome it. But there are some few things that we're still looking forward for. But like my brother says, early days yet. But the few that we've gotten now, I think it's something that we need to welcome, where some of the levies has been gone off, the emission levy is gone, especially the yield levy that we're all crying home about. Because in a business arena where we are looking where we're going to do yield transactions, where we want to do paperless businesses and when we want to do cashless business, and then you are imposing taxes on our finances and money. It was something that was worrying the business community. So now that those things have been scrapped, e-levy is gone, emission levy is gone, and then there was a law that they were put in place about salvage vehicles. And now that has been scrapped. So you see that people are now, but it's a challenge for importation of vehicles, where the president himself also spoke about the number of taxes on importation of vehicles, where they use home delivery value to calculate duty for you. These are some of the things. Maybe in the medium term, the government will come out with a pragmatic way to make sure that the taxes we pay, especially when it comes to duty on cars, should be reduced. Now, cumulatively, duties on cars is extremely high. The cost of the vehicle is cheaper than the cost of duty you pay on the car. This is the only country that I've seen that you pay more or tax on the vehicle than the cost of the vehicle itself. So these are some of the areas we'll be looking at where we expect that government should come and then streamline those areas. Maybe give some benchmark when it comes to duties on vehicles. So it's a welcome. It's early days yet, but where we sit now and as a business community, we think there's hope.
I know you said it's early days, but at least we've seen that some nuisance taxes that you've complained about are gone.
Yes.
We've seen relative stability with the cedi against the US dollar. We've even seen fuel prices begin to decline. How soon should consumers begin to expect prices to drop?
As much as, you see, that is what my brother said, is we are looking at the longevity. We are looking at how to do projection, the fear of the unknown, how the dollar-cedi relationship, stability of it, how long is it going to be stable? Now, we're going to see reduction. You're not going to see increase in prices like we used to see before. Like you look at today, and tomorrow morning you ask for a price of a product, it's 2 cedis. The next day you go to the shop and it's 4 cedis. Why? Because of the exchange rate relationship. But now, as it stands now, I think for the past 4 or 5 months, there's no increase in prices in the market. So that's what we'll be saying, that as much as there's no, the dollar is stable, price of goods and services will also be stable. But then there are other challenges that we face when it comes to the commercial bank. Interest rate that goes almost about 35 to 40%. So policy rate now is about 28%. So this is, if government is able to make sure that commercial bank brings their interest rate down, further down, to boost businesses, I believe price of goods and services will come down. But as it stands now, I don't think price of goods and services goes up as we used to see some time ago, where, because we use dollar to calculate duty. So today he goes to the port to go and clear his goods. The dollar is calculated in 14.5. The following week he goes and it's 15. Obviously, he's not going to maintain the price. But for the past 4 months, we've seen that it has been stable. That's why you see some stability of prices in the market as we talk to now.
Okay. Yeah. So, Doc, you've heard from the business community and the industrial side of things. So far, so good, even though it's early days yet. What do you say as an economist?
Well, I think, yes, I agree with my brothers. So far, so good. The president and then the NDC government, as a political party, they made a lot of promise in their manifestos from the economic side. You mentioned some of them in your introduction. The 2025 budget sought to address most of these promises, but some of them are still outstanding. And so, yes, to the effect that the 2025 budget has started addressing the promises that they made in their manifestos, is a good sign. We must not forget that Ghana still has an IMF program which started in 2023. So this provides the context for the gains that we are seeing now, which started from 2023 coming. And so it's good that this current administration stays committed to the IMF program. And we must also remember that the debt exchange program has also contributed to the savings that the nation made from interest payment, which posed a positive impact on the current account. Then the government started building reserves. Currently, as we speak, the Bank of Ghana has close to about $10 billion reserves, out of which the central bank is able to intervene if the need arises, to intervene in the forex market. So the focus on stability, I've already laid the background. Let's go to the external factors. So I'm saying that, yes, we are enjoying the stability. The IMF program is there. The debt exchange program, both domestic and external, has also contributed. The post-2024 election has also been very sound. And I must commend the MPP government for conceding, Dr. Bawumia especially, for conceding early, because there was so much uncertainty about whether he will accept the results, runoff, Supreme Court, here and there. But for him to concede early, of course, it was very clear that they're going to lose. So for him to concede early, it really killed the uncertainties surrounding the elections that, hey, he has accepted, and therefore let's move on as a country. Going from the external factors, we are also lucky as a country that we haven't seen much disturbances from the external source. We haven't seen any new geopolitical tension, any war, coming out there. Crude oil price have been stable. What we are currently seeing now is a trade war. I just checked the data before joining you guys that since 23rd April of this year, the US dollar has been depreciating against other currencies like Canadian dollar, against the euro, against the pound, and against even the Chinese yuan. Whatever happened after 23rd April, we are still investigating, but this is the position of the US dollar. So the external development are also not having much negative implications. Even I have read from somewhere that the trade war will have minimal impact on, and I think my friend Chonam will be able to explain this further, will have a minimum impact on our exports, on all our trade positions, because there are alternative markets for that. Today we are talking about the African Continental Free Trade Secretariat. So on the whole, in terms of stability, the 2025 budget has started addressing issues. We are enjoying the stability. I think the business environment is okay, with the exception of the borrowing rate, which is still high. Inflation, we are still struggling to bring down inflation. The disinflation process has slowed. If you look at other factors like the cost of living, again, because crude oil prices have been stable and the exchange rate has been stable, we are not seeing GPRTU calling for any increment in transport fares. We've seen the upward adjustment of utility tariffs, but the negative impact on the general cost of living has been mitigated by this stable exchange rate and stable crude oil price on the international market. But we want to see more pragmatic policies from the government to address the cost of living crisis that they inherited and is still with us up to now. But what is still outstanding is, I think my friends have mentioned it, is the general economic transformation. Yes, stability first before transformation. So like they said, I joined them in saying that early days yet, what we are waiting to see is for this stability to be translated into general economic transformation. Because if you take a look at the 2025 budget, they did not mention much about the economic transformation, which is supposed to create jobs. The focus is on stability this year. Maybe next year going, they will talk about transformation. Or when they launch the 24-hour economic policy, all these things will flesh out the economic transformation agenda. The Women Development Bank, as you mentioned in your introduction, is still outstanding. And so, yes, the stability, what Ghanaians are looking for going forward is proper economic transformation, which will open up businesses, create jobs that we are all looking for. The budget did not say much. I mean, they did not commit resources to the one district, one factory, which was an industrial policy from the previous administration. Well, if they decide not to commit resources to that, then one would expect a new industrial policy from them. These things were not mentioned in the 2025 budget. Perhaps going forward, it will come in 2026 and 2027. What is still a risk to our economic environment is the energy sector challenge. There's so much challenge in the energy sector. The debt, some communities in Ghana are still experiencing some power outages. And this is not something that we should joke with, because we know the impact of doomsday in the years 2014 to 2016, and we don't want that to return. So I think we want to call on the government to make sure that the challenges in the energy sector are all addressed, so that going forward we can have a better. The social intervention programs have also been deepened. In the midst of all this fiscal consolidation, when the government has decided to cut its expenditure by 10 billion Ghana cedis, the government is not spending much to stimulate the economy in the year 2025. They also know that this may have adverse impact on the poor and the vulnerable. So they decided to deepen the safety nets to cushion the poor and the vulnerable. And we all know all those social intervention programs, NHIS, the school feeding program, LEAP, etc., etc. Today they have added the free sanitary pad to it. All these things will cushion the poor and the vulnerable. I don't know when they are going to kickstart the no fee stress policy. It's a policy that I disagree anyway, but if they will implement it, well, according to them, it may relieve the poor and the vulnerable. The teacher and nursing training allowances have all been kept and also increased. The allowances, I guess, have been increased. So if these things are all there to cushion the poor and the vulnerable in society, so far so good. We just hope that we can continue like this and then transform this stability into proper economic growth for job creation. That's what we are looking for, because the GDP growth rate forecast for the year 2025 has been revised downwards. Not revised downwards, is lower than the 2024 figure. We ended the 2024 with, I think, 6.0% GDP growth rate, but the budget is forecasting 4.0 GDP growth rate. So when you find yourself in such a situation, you're not expanding that much. Our GDP is around 75 billion dollars, and if you are growing at less than 5%, then you will not get the needed transformation that you get. So moving forward, I think in the coming years, we hope that things will be better for better economic transformation.
All right, but the 6% you quoted was for the fourth quarter, right? Just to clarify, because I think the previous quarters were about 3% or so. Just to clarify.
Okay.
And then we do know also that the president announced at the Kweu Business Forum that there were plans to turn the Kweu enclave into an agro-processing zone, and already feasibility studies have been done. So I'm sure that ties into what you spoke about earlier about industrialization. So I'm sure they'll begin to roll out these policies as time goes on. But this is Business Focus here on TV3 with me, Michael Obodu, and my guests who are here in studio and via Zoom. And to all of you watching us on social media, especially the almost 300 of you on X, please feel free to drop your comments and we'll read them for you. If you have questions for the guests, so please feel free to send them through. We'll go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue with the conversation. Please stay tuned.
Every day, people have money emergencies. Ma, I need my school fees emergency. Mommy, chop money emergency. Emergency. Catch it. The rent emergency. Now, there's a new emergency number in town. More money, more money. Dial star 770 hash for all your money emergencies and chop money.
Dial star 770 hash for money emergencies and get easy and quick access to your money, loans, and other banking needs. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
Mini Ojo, from the connection man. You'll be a mess or two. Come.
Mate, patch up the shabu so kanka.
Fukawi. See what kiosk number 22. That's all your brajo. I'm a saw too. Yes. Mommy, you show our unya so well. Hello. You show our uko boats. See what last stop. That's all your Sister Rose. Hold up. Sister Rose, Mr. No customer. salt in the mommy. Also, you can show spot. See what's circle. Boys, me. You sound. Bro, I didn't fall from 6 p.m. sharp. Let's saw too.
When we connect our energies, great things happen. Connect to a world of amazing and endless possibility with Telecell. Telecell, connecting lifestyle, connecting passions, connecting dreams.
Telecell, connecting energies.
Well, you know you are sick. I don't want quality production. I know yeah, everybody can't. Take it easy. Sit down.
Boss, mommy, 4 empty mixture.
Cheap grade and set one.
With the 4 empty mixture. I am a little.
I say, no, man, make a 2 years, say, dear, me do any problem.
But that's the first time I did my money. I'm just so happy.
You sure you feel so happy?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Now, what did it feel for the say?
Yeah, but shit. Feel. 4 empty mixture.
4 empty mixture. Natural.
Yes.
4 empty.
Mixture.
Mister.
Yeah.
And you made my away, my
Let me check this one.
my
away.
for today.
Kwa empty Mr. Opedudu Tour. Frekwa, Idumekuo no Ewo 0244 726611 and 059 165 5778. FDA Aji Ebidin Kratui Aturu. Every day, people have money emergencies. Ma, I need my school fees emergency. Mommy chop money emergency. Emergency. Catch it. I'm your rent emergency. Now, there's a new emergency number in town. More money. Dial *770# for all your money emergencies and chop money.
Dial *770# for money emergencies and get easy and quick access to your money, loans, and other banking needs. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
Welcome back. This is Business Focus here on TV3 with me, Michael Obodu. Now, every day people face different emergencies, from police emergency, fire emergency, medical emergency, you name it. But many Ghanaians don't know their emergency numbers. Well, here's one you would want to remember. That's *770#. Yes, *770# is the new EcoBank money emergency number. *770# gives you instant access to loans, funds transfer, utility payments, airtime and data purchases, and so much more, even without data. So there's no need to panic when you find yourself in any money emergency. EcoBank will always come to your rescue. Dial *770# now for solutions to your money emergencies. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. And do remember that EcoBank and Telecell are sponsors of Business Focus. I still have my guest in studio, Chona Makpelo, Greater Accra Chairman of AGI, Association of Ghana Industries, and Joseph Paddy, Director of Communications for Ghana Union of Traders Association. Also on Zoom is economist Dr. Edu Owusu-Sarkodie. Now, gentlemen, let's put a spotlight on inflation, for instance. We've seen inflation drop marginally at about 22.4% as we speak. Yet in the midst of this also, this month, we know that PRLC is hiking the rates. In the midst of this also, the governor of the Bank of Ghana has revised year-end inflation to 12%. Looking at these dynamics and the policies government has put in place so far, do you think that they are doing enough to manage inflation? Chona, I'll talk to you.
Okay, so thank you. So, well, inflation, really, it's a big deal for us in industry and for all the economic actors and players. But to the extent that the rate of inflation has gone down marginally, it's a testament to the fact that something really is happening, which we welcome. Our view is very simple, that we would like to see inflation rates continue to go down and continue to go down. And really, that's what we're looking forward to seeing. In the past, we've seen that most of the inflations have been imported. And also because about 70% of all the things we use in Ghana are imported. And so we are looking at a situation where the inflationary situation is so stabilized to the extent that we expand local production, where we are actually not importing, but we're exporting to support local currency and to ensure that if you go to the market, you are always going to get products, if not at the same price, but actually at a reduced price. So really for us, we believe that the fact that the inflation rate is going down marginally should be sustained. A lot of effort have to be put in, mainly by supporting industry. Set up the Women World Banking as promised, put in the money, ensure that the rate at which borrow money at the bank is significantly reduced, so that there will be a lot of loanable funds available for industry to access and expand our factories, and so that we can hire the many young people that are unemployed. Very recently, the president outdoored the National Entrepreneurship Program that essentially is supposed to be training several young people. And also they've mentioned the coding program. So it means that there'll be a lot of young people with skills that need to be employed. What we need is to have that environment that is more stabilized, where industrial actors would have the confidence in wanting to put in their money to ensure that we expand our industries and employ more people. If we're able to achieve that, we can ensure that inflation will continue to be more stabilized.
All right. Now, a key part of inflation is food inflation. A key contributor to inflation in the country is food inflation. And it's important to also understand what the government is doing in the agricultural sector, especially to tackle this. So we'll pick the thoughts of Edward Kariwa. He's the former General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union, and he joins us via phone. I'm always tempted to call you Doc. Mr. Edward Kariwa, what's your assessment of government's efforts so far in the agricultural sector, first 120 days?
Well, good evening, and then thank you for the opportunity. I think that government efforts so far have been commendable. Government has breathed new air into agricultural production. It has given Ghanaians hope that we'll see agriculture get back on its feet again. But it is still so much early days to see the real impact of government efforts in agriculture.
Okay. Now, this government cut allocations to the agricultural sector. In 2024, it was 5 billion cedis. The amount has reduced to 1.5 billion cedis, representing 0.54% of the total budget, as against 2.2% the previous year. Looking at these numbers alone, do you get the sense that the government is really serious about making major gains and transformation in the agricultural sector?
Well, I think that much as we believe that budgetary allocation to a particular sector of the economy, and for that matter, agriculture, is very important, we also have to be minded that we have had so much budgetary allocation in the past to agriculture, and yet we do not have results to show for that huge budgetary allocation. The good example is just about the 2024 allocation. If we ask ourselves, what is the impact of that allocation on the agricultural production in the country in 2024? If we are not happy about the outturn of agriculture in 2024, then of course we could equally say that we could have saved more money by not allocating so much into agriculture for us to only get an abysmal performance in agriculture. So I think that one of the major things it's about how the funds are used in agriculture. You know, first and foremost, the past allocations that we can talk about, it did not get to the target group, you know, and we learned about smuggling of fertilizers, we learned about smuggling of inputs, other inputs, and so on. So even if you allocate so much to agriculture, and at the end of the day, much of it does not get to the target group, that is to the farmers, and you do not also make sure that what gets to the farmers is actually used on the farms, then you will be creating more waste if you increase your budget allocation. So what we can say is that, yes, 1.5 billion is less than what happened in 2024, but we want the government to demonstrate to us that the 1.5 billion that are allocated, these are the results to show, and then we can now ask for more increase in agriculture.
All right, thank you so much. That was Edward Kaiwe. He is the former General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union, GAU. So I'll come to you in studio. So you've heard what GAU has to say about how government has fared so far with the agricultural sector. But for you as Guta, what do you make of the efforts so far in tackling inflation?
Yeah, so far so good. Because we see inflation dropping. Most time when we see inflation dropping, we want to see the impact on the policy rate. We want to also see the impact on the interest rate. For the whole correlation, because based on inflation, Bank of Ghana will come out with their policy rate. So we want to see that. Most time when even policy rate drops, you don't see the effect on the interest rate with the commercial banks. So these are some of the areas that we need to look at. But most time, Bank of Ghana can come as low as whatever number you can think of. But you see that interest rate is still where it is. And in doing business or going into industry and manufacturing, you need cheaper credit to trade with. So these are some of the areas we want government to look into. And we also were talking about tax reforms. Yes, we didn't hear so much. You know, the minister said he's coming for compliance. But we're saying for compliance to be adhered to, we need to have some tax reform to bring effectiveness and efficiency in tax mobilization. So these are some of the things. What is government? Because as it stands now, we look at our VAT component. It's about 3 components, where some are paying 22%, some are paying 4%, some are not even paying. But we're all in the same market circle. So we need a serious reform when it comes to our tax regime. That is why we are praying that COVID-19 level should have gone, but because it's tied to the World Bank, IMF conditionality, that's why we're having that challenge. But we pray as early as possible, government should be able to finish up with IMF. I think they were in town just last week or so, so they should be able to work out with them so that we see COVID-19 being the thing of the past. So that we need a major tax reform, because most times government's challenge is how to widen the tax net. They have identified the problem, how to widen the tax net for compliance, because there are few people, if you keep on increasing taxes, you see the few people who are in the net are the same people who are paying. So what is this kind of government, what is it doing to reform tax? That's one of the promises they gave us, that they're going to come up with a tax reform so that we have parity in the tax regime. So we're looking for, the business committee is looking for that, so that all of us will be on board. We're saying that the 70% of people who are outside the tax net, if we are even to get 30, in addition to the already 30 people, we don't need to even increase that, because the tax rate of this country is extremely high. Tax rates are high. VAT is about, the standard rate is about 22%, the 3%, 4%, tax, another form, 0%. So, but our tax rate in general is high. That is why compliance is extremely difficult. So what is government doing ASAP? We have some tax reforms so that there will be parity in the tax regime, so that we all come on board, so that those who are outside the net will also come on board, and together we'll raise the needed revenue to develop the country. Because government needs revenue, as we all know, to develop the country. So these are some of the things we're looking forward for government.
Definitely.
Yes.
Doc, I'll come to you finally. Still on the issue of inflation and tackling it, over the period, we've seen the central bank use the monetary policy approach. But really, for how long can we continue with this? Because as you continue to hike the rates, you're also contributing to inflation to some extent. What other practical options can we adopt now if we want to be able to hit our 12% target? Briefly.
Well, that's why some people question the inflation targeting framework of the central bank. I'm sure that's a discussion for another day. Mostly you hear from the central bank that the disinflation process has slowed. Is the reason they increased the policy rate. So that will answer my friend's concerns. If the disinflation process is quicker, then the central bank is likely to reduce their policy rate. We've also seen that the cedi has stabilized, and that's also a contributory factor for the positive forecast of the inflation. The T-bill rate has been going down around 15% now. For investors to accept that, it means that they anticipate a lower inflation in the future. The inflation expectation is expected to be lower than we see now. So hopefully, inflation will go down further. But you asked about other tools of fight. Of course, I agree with you that in fairness to the central bank, the Bank of Ghana is just using their available tools, and these are purely monetary tools to keep the nominal interest rate at the same level. The other interest rate at the same level. If inflation is high, they have to increase the policy rate. The fight against inflation is not only a monetary phenomenon. We should also look at the real sector, agri sector, important items, local production, as has been mentioned already, the transport sector, utility tariffs, etc., etc. These are all factors that must be considered.
Doc, it looks like this conversation will have to continue it on another day and bring you in studio to expand on it properly, because we need to get to the bottom of fixing the issue of inflation in this country and find a more practical solution to it, Doc. All too soon, we ran out of time. That is all for today's edition of Business Focus. Earlier, you heard that Dr. Edu Susako, there is an economist I had in studio joining me also. Greater Accra Chairman of the Association of Ghana Industries, Chonam Akpelo. Thank you so much for coming through. And to Joseph Paddy, the Director of Communications for the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, Guta. That'll be all for today's edition. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you same time next week. Don't forget, there'll be more business stories on News 360 at 7 p.m. sharp. My name is Michael Obodu. We'll catch you same time next week. Thank you for watching. As always, please stay safe.